Hello, I'm Lara Kılıçarslan and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. Could the age of ultra-cheap, disposable fashion be coming to an end? US President Donald Trump's sweeping trade crackdowns are sending shockwaves through the fast fashion industry, threatening the dominance of retail giants like Shein and Temu. Once untouchable, these fast fashion powerhouses built their empires on low-cost Chinese manufacturing and tax loopholes that left them ship goods straight to American consumers without paying tariffs. But that advantage, known as the de minimis exemption, is gone. Now every imported item, no matter how small, faces new duties, forcing Shein and Temu to rethink their entire business model.
Please let me know when Meshki started charging duty fees, because this is new.
This is literally only new in the US because countries like Canada have been doing this forever. Like the duties on anything imported out of China into Canada are crazy. And basically why the US was different is they had a de minimis exception. And what that means is anything under $800, so any purchase under $800 got in duty free. The reason why these fast fashion companies are so cheap, minus their like really shitty, unethical manufacturing, is because of this de minimis loophole. Basically, the regular kind of non-fast fashion-y process is you have minimums, you're going to manufacture it overseas, ship them into the US, and then ship them out of US warehouses. Any company that is already importing goods into the US are already paying those tariffs. And these fast fashion companies, because they ship straight from China, and most of the purchases that people place are under $800, that used to not have any tariffs put on.
The fallout has been immediate. Since the new tariffs took effect in February, Shein's sales have dropped 16%, while Temu has taken a staggering 41% hit. But the impact goes beyond the retailers. It's shifting how consumers shop, especially younger buyers. Last year, global sales of second-hand clothing jumped 15%. This year, that number is projected to rise more than 10%, thanks to tariffs and, in part, to AI-powered search tools, making it easier than ever for shoppers to find exactly what they want.
There are enough pieces of clothing on this planet right now, at this moment, if we never made another piece of fashion, to clothe the next 6 generations of people. And yet we're buying like these Temu hauls for 50 dresses for $100? That's insane. That's not sustainable. Of course it's not sustainable. Because we're buying things with cheap fabric that are poorly made, that are made to fall apart, that are these micro trends that you're gonna wear one time for one Instagram post. It's designed to fall apart. Of course that's not gonna work. If a tariff that makes that thing slightly more expensive makes you realize like, oh, that is a little bit more expensive, and so now I could buy something in an American store or in a local store, or like, God forbid, at a tiny local boutique shop local, or like a local designer, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that actually helps sustainability.
Well, maybe not exactly. While the increased tariffs may reduce the consumption of ultra-cheap disposable fashion items, the environmental benefits are still uncertain. Some experts argue that higher prices could lead consumers to invest in higher quality, longer-lasting clothing, potentially decreasing textile waste. But others caution that without comprehensive policies promoting sustainable practices, the environmental impact may be limited. So buying secondhand remains the most sustainable choice. And let's be real, vintage is back in style. But fast fashion brands are finding new ways to adapt. Temu, for example, is on a hiring spree to stay ahead of the game. The company is poaching talent from major competitors, including Amazon, Walmart, and TikTok. This hiring push is part of Temu's larger strategy to scale its marketplace, just as the US slaps a 20% tariff on Chinese imports. To soften the blow, Temu is ramping up efforts to promote products from US-based sellers and store inventory in American warehouses. By shifting away from direct shipments from China, the company aims to bypass tariffs and speed up delivery times. South Africa's ambassador to the US, Ebrahim Rasool, is back on home soil after being expelled from Washington. President Donald Trump's administration has accused him of being a race-baiting politician who hates the US. Rasool received a hero's welcome on Sunday and says he has no regrets about being expelled by the Trump administration. And despite warnings from the South African government not to anger the US when welcoming him, Rasool was met by hundreds of cheering supporters in Cape Town. And while he stands by his remarks, he says it's time for Pretoria to fix their relationship with the US without sacrificing the country's values. Relations between both nations have worsened since February. Trump cut US HIV/AIDS funding to Pretoria over a controversial land appropriation bill. And he's gone as far as offering white Afrikaner South Africans refugee status in the US, an offer tens of thousands are now inquiring about.
In the first few hours after the news broke and it went live, we received thousands of emails, text messages, WhatsApps, Facebook Messenger messages, and to an extent that our system actually crashed. We couldn't deal with just the sheer volume that was coming through. What we have done is we've subsequently put a link on our website where people can register for information only. It's not to register for benefits or anything to become a refugee. It's just so that we can share information. Well, I think what we have pleaded with our South African brothers and sisters is to at least maintain decorum and respect for one another. Both you and I are South Africans that are no longer resident within South Africa. And we should not denounce those that have got the desire to join us in other parts of the world. At the same time, we respect those that decide to stay because South Africa is an amazing country. It's the country of our birth. We can just allow one another enough space, as we did back in 1994 when our country became a democracy. We opened the doors for everyone to say, this is a new country with new parameters, with new rules.
So the US refugee offer for Afrikaners is likely more a geopolitical move than it is just humanitarian. What people need to understand and remember that the US, especially under President Trump, acts based on national interest, not on ideology. The focus of South Africa's racial policies against the Afrikaners, which it's there. I mean, it's in the law books. There's a lot of regulations written that's against a minority group. So the ANC cannot argue with it. It's there in writing, okay? But remember this, President Trump's focus on South Africa's racial policies might just be a tool to pressure the ANC and also to advance America's national interest. How? How do they do that? Now we all know that South Africa is part of BRICS, right? With Russia, China, India, Brazil, etc. What does BRICS want to do? BRICS wants to move away from the US dollar being the reserve currency, right? Gone petrodollar. So BRICS, at this moment in time, they've developed, busy in the development, advancing it, alternative payment systems, alternative to the SWIFT system that we have, etc. And they want to trade and have begun to do so certain percentages of their goods and services, not using the US dollar as the reserve currency. That is a major problem for the United States, especially for President Trump.
The claims of marginalization and white genocide were put to Trump by South African-born Elon Musk, who's seen as his right-hand man. These claims have been often punted by AfriForum, a small organization that represents white Afrikaners. But many South Africans disagree and accuse the group of irresponsibility, fueling racial divisions.
Is there genocide taking place in this country? Absolutely not. Is there an illegal seizure of land in this country? Absolutely not. All of those things are true. To now go out and distort the truth, to say things are worse today than they were during apartheid, there's a genocide, there's seizures, I disagree. I think what you cannot do is use the US to drive a particular narrative that is destructive against our country. What we have to do is come back and say, we have an interest in this country. We have a democratic process upon which we can fight for policies that are pro-growth. We need to learn lessons about how we can build an economy that's more inclusive. We have to achieve a country upon which all rights are protected and we can grow. And that's a journey. But when you go out and you create a false narrative that becomes punitive to people who are HIV positive with the withdrawal of PEPFAR funding, punitive to job losses in this country when AGOA is removed, I don't think you are being patriots. I think actually you are doing something profoundly destructive in this country.
In Norway, OpenAI is in trouble. A Norwegian man has filed a complaint after ChatGPT falsely told him he had killed 2 of his sons and was serving a 21-year prison sentence. Arve Hjalmar Holman is demanding that the company be fined for the error. This is just the latest example of what's known as hallucinations in AI. It's when artificial intelligence makes up information and presents it as a fact. OpenAI has responded, saying that this incident involves an older version of ChatGPT, and the model has since been upgraded. It also says the AI chatbot carries a disclaimer warning users that ChatGPT can make mistakes and encourages them to double-check important information.
A common misconception is that AI hallucinations, where it makes things up, is some sort of bug. It's some problem in the computer code and AI makes a mistake. This is not the case. AI hallucinations are actually the way that AI works. Let's go through a scientific example, but I'm gonna make it easy. Since I'm Italian, I'm gonna make an example with Italian food. So how does AI understand that pasta and pizza are Italian kinds of food? It may have learned that through examples. For instance, this could be some reviews of Italian restaurants that AI has read. So it has learned that those words are all likely to come together. Notice, it didn't learn anything about Italian food. It just learned that Italian food is very likely to come together with words like pasta or pizza or lasagna. Now, suppose that you are in an Italian restaurant that serves just pasta, no pizza at all, and you ask AI for recommendations. AI may suggest you to order the pizza, and you may think, what the hell? You didn't understand the concept of this restaurant? Are you stupid? Are you hallucinating? Well, AI is not trained to understand menus. AI is trained to make associations between words and understand the likelihood of certain words coming together. So in this case, the likelihood of Italian restaurant coming together with the word pizza is very high. Even if this restaurant is not serving it, AI may make that association. And we call it hallucination. But from a scientific point of view, it's just probability distribution.
Now on to more big news in the world of AI. OpenAI has announced that it has developed a new AI model that's actually good at creative writing. But isn't that what they've been doing so far? CEO Sam Altman says this new model left him really struck by its writing. Now keep in mind, the model is yet to be released to the public, and there's still no details on how or when it will happen. But for sure, the big takeaway is that AI is getting pretty impressive in the creative space. OpenAI's announcement comes at a time when the tech world is in a heated legal battle with the creative industries over copyright. Concerns are growing over AI systems like ChatGPT being trained using vast amounts of publicly available data.
Even if AI bots are able to produce works of literature to be read, that it doesn't ruin it for the rest of us who would like to express ourselves and write books and publish them and even potentially make a living from it. So, but it's gonna take discerning readers to say, this is just not, we're not going to allow the publishing industry to just become this. Because I can't imagine a world easily in which, heaven forbid, George R.R. Martin, goes belly up before finishing the Song of Ice and Fire series, and the publishers are able to just eventually just have an AI thing do it for him, or whoever owns his intellectual property. That is the fear.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.